Well, folks, you've requested it, and so now, because you've asked, you shall receive. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened unto you. That's right, guys. We got a battle of the blades for you today here on this particular episode at Gideon's Tactical. You know, recently through not only social media, but also on recent videos that I've posted, kind of wrapping up a gauntlet review of the Gerber Strongarm, I had the question multiple times, more times than I could count. Hey, which one is the better knife? Which one would you recommend? The Gerber Strongarm or the Schrade SCHF42 designed by Brian Griffin? Which of these two knives would you recommend? Because they're so close in price, they're both gonna be right around the $45 mark on Amazon or eBay. They both are of similar thickness, similar weight, similar design, and you know, they're great budget blades. Both of them are great designed budget knives. But for a lot of you, you're trying to decide for $45, which knife is gonna be better for the task that I need my blades to do. Well, I hope to do my very best and offer my opinion on that very question. In this video, you're gonna see these two knives in some action shots as we use them. Now, we have full field tests and reviews on both of these blades. They are both great blades, but one is gonna be, I believe, a little bit better for you bushcrafters, and one's gonna be a little bit better for you utilitarians who are just kind of more of a utilitarian use knife. So I'm gonna walk you through the blades, the handles, the sheaths, and then at the end of the video, give you my final thoughts, and hopefully it'll point you guys in the right direction on between these two knives that are so well designed at such a great price, which one is going to be better for you and for the task you expect your blade to do. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start looking at this battle of the blades between the F42 and the Gerber Strongarm. Well, let's go ahead and talk about the actual blade sizes here real quick. They're both 3/16 of an inch thick, which is great, which means that they're going to be very robust and stout, but not overkill at 1/4 inch. I think for this size of knife is a little bit overkill. 3/16 for a tough, solid knife is very good that you're going to ask a lot of different harder tasks from, so that's great. And then I'll connotate it in right now, but if I remember correctly, I believe the Schrade is 5.1 inches long and the Gerber is like 4.8, 4.9, something like that. So very similar in length as well when we're talking about these two knives, and they're going to weigh similar as well. I'm connotating that in, so they're very close in weight. So we are looking at very similar knives in their dimensions and thickness and size. So with that being said, let's continue. All right, folks, let's go ahead and talk about the steels here, and we'll start out with the Schrade. Now, the Schrade has 1095 high carbon steel from Taiwan. Now, you know, USA made 1095 is fantastic, but Taiwanese 1095, from everything that I've seen here on this Gerber, on this Schrade, as well as on previous Schrades that have been produced in Taiwan, not in China, in Taiwan, I've seen great quality control, great heat treats, and really good, you know, just fit and finish and design and attention to detail in the blade and in the steel. So for the price point of under $50, I don't have any issues with the quality of the 1095 that we're seeing here on this Schrade. And the benefits of 1095 is that because of the high carbon, it's very easy for you to get a really nice hair pop and fine edge on it with almost no effort. So when this does dull, it's going to be very easy for you to get the very fine edge back on it, and it, you know, will hold a good edge. The downside to 1095 is that it picks up rust real fast, so you got to babysit it, particularly in humid environments. So those are just some of the benefits of the 1095 that you're looking at with the Schrade. All right, now for the Gerber. The Gerber has a stainless steel. It has 420 high carbon steel. Now, even though it has some carbon in it with that, you know, 420 is a stainless steel, so this is going to be more rust resistant than the 1095. So for those of you in very humid environments, probably right away, the Strongarm is going to have a leg up because you won't have to babysit it as often. Now, 420 high carbon steel, you know, is definitely, I would say, a budget steel, but we're looking at some budget blades here, under $50 for these knives. And at that price point, really the two companies that come to mind that make the best 420 is Buck and Gerber. And as long as it's USA made and with a good heat treat, I've seen very good results out of 420 high carbon, not only in this knife, but other knives. And Gerber, in no exception, has done that with this Strongarm. They did a fantastic heat treat, making it very tough and durable. Through all the abuse, through all of my testing that I did for several months, then handed it off to 7 different reviewers, going through oil drums, doors, cutting, slashing, you know, batoning, burning, chopping, carving, whittling, I mean, all that stuff, this 420 has really held up well without any sort of chipping or rolling, you know, and damaging. I mean, it will dull just like any other steel. It's not a super steel, but for the price point, it is one tough steel. Now, that's all positive, everything to this point. The downside is, what I found is it's a little difficult for me to get a really shaving sharp, hair popping edge on this knife, and that's because of how they did the heat treat. It's very tough, so it's a little bit more difficult. It's much easier to get the finer edge on the Schrade than it is on the Gerber. It takes a little bit more time. It can be done, it just takes a little bit more effort and a little bit more time with this 420 because of the toughness with the heat treat that they decided to go with. And if you're talking about edge retention, though, I would say that these both have very similar edge retentions. And in fact, I would say that the Gerber, because of the lower heat treat and just what they did, and the lower rock, excuse me, not the lower heat treat, but the heat treat with the lower Rockwell of this 420 is actually a little bit tougher and won't chip out quite as fast as, say, the 1095 on the Schrade. So with all that being said, it really depends on, are you looking for more of a tough blade that you're willing to, you know, spend a little bit more time resharpening, that's going to be really hard and take lots of abuse, or are you looking for something that you can resharpen real quick and get a finer edge quicker and easier? That will determine, as well as the humidity levels in your environment, will determine which one of these steels is better for you. Let's talk about the blade shapes and the grinds that they chose for these two knives. Now, a lot of this is the theory of the two knives. What are you going to be using this knife for? The Schrade is definitely designed to be more of a camp bushcraft knife. The Gerber is definitely designed more as a field utility knife. That's what this is designed for. That's what this is designed for. So some of the grinds go into that. That doesn't mean that this Schrade couldn't be used to do some more field utility tasks, and that doesn't mean that the Gerber can't do some bushcraft tasks, but that's kind of what they were originally designed for, and you see that in the grinds and blade shapes. So the Schrade has a full flat grind, which I love in this size range. Under 5 inches, I really like, or 5 inches or less, I really like full flat grinds. They're one of my favorites. It's going to have this drop point design, which is fantastic, which means that this is going to be a really good slicer. It's just the way full flat grinds are. It has a very gradual angle up to the back of the spine, which means it's going to be great at food prep and all that type of stuff, vegetables, you know, fruit, meat. So around your campsite, it's going to be a great, you know, tool for food prep. I mean, look at any of your kitchenware. It's going to be a full flat grind blade, which is awesome. And then that drop point as well is going to make it very easy for you to put your thumb on, you know, to use and do finer tasks. And because it has such a gradual angle up to the spine, it makes this very easy to do the triggers and traps and notches very easily and get that really fine cut that you may need for those tasks. That's the positive. The negative is that it's not quite as strong. Full flat grinds aren't quite as strong, particularly around the tip. Full flat grinds can have a tendency to snap and break with hard stabbing and prying. It's just the way it is because there's no secondary strength like a saber grind would have. So that's where really the Schrade excels, is more in the bushcraft style of tasks. And it will do a little bit better on the finer cutting, you know, like feather stick making. If you need to make a huge bundle of feather sticks and you have this one and I had the Gerber, you would beat me by just a little bit. The Gerber is very close, a very close second in the feather stick making department, but the Schrade does have a slight leg up. It's just a little easier to get those super paper thin shavings done than on the Gerber because it has that saber grind. So though the saber grind may not be great for like food prep, and it makes it slightly more difficult to get those super fine shavings just because the grind is a little more abrupt and the angle is a little more abrupt. Now trust me, I can get some wicked fine shavings done with this Gerber, but you can do slightly better with the Schrade again. The positives, those would be the two negatives. Food prep, and you can't get like really fine triggers and traps. That's really where you see it. You know, the Schrade is going to slice right deep down in there. It's going to be a little bit harder. You're going to have to put a little bit more arm strength into your Gerber to get that same, you know, bite into the wood if you're trying to make like a Lincoln log, you know, square notch, something like that. And it also, this Gerber is going to have a clip point design. So it has that unsharpened swedge at the top, which really makes it designed fantastically well for stabbing and penetrating. And that's where it goes back to kind of that field knife utility tactical blade. First off, that's kind of how it was originally, you know, thought of and designed, but that's going to make the tip tip super strong. This is going to take way more abuse on the tip, a lot more stabbing and prying without any sort of damage, where you may accidentally really damage your Schrade beyond repair if you're doing some of the same things that the Gerber can handle. The other thing to note as well is saber grinds are great for just more blunt, brutal tasks. I don't know how else to say it. It's going to be better for batoning, though granted for this size of knife, you're not going to be doing a lot of batoning. Saber grinds will split wood faster. Saber grinds chop wood faster. These knives are super light and small. You're not going to really be doing any chopping, but that's really where the capabilities come in, as well as, like nylon rope cutting and those type of things. You see a little bit better capability with a saber grind. So ultimately, to kind of, conclude this, I would say if you're a true bushcrafter and you're doing lots of notches and you really, you make your fires with just a ball of, feather sticks and that is it, and you're really wanting really fine detailed work, then the Schrade is going to probably be the better option for you. If you're somebody who is more of, you want to be able to do some feather sticks, you want to be able to do some notches and stuff, the Gerber can do that, but you're going to be a lot harder on your knife in the sense you're going to be maybe doing more stabbing, more slashing, maybe more self-defense, obviously, those type of things, and you're looking for something that has a blade design that's more suited to be a harder use design, then the Gerber is going to be a little bit more harder use and will be able to take more abuse than the Schrade could, just purely because of the grind angles and grind designs. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about the handles here, and we'll go ahead and start with the Gerber. Now, the Gerber is a full tang construction, which is great, better than the partial tang of the LMF2 that's been around for a while. And with all the abuse that this Gerber's gone through the gauntlet, getting so heavily abused, I would bet anything on the integrity of the full tang with a glass overmold and the rubberized layer. So that is something to note, and that's what it's designed with. Now, I wear large size gloves, as you can see there. Feels very good in my hand, great size. Now, it has this dual guard because it is more of a field tactical knife, is the utilitarian knife is what it's designed. So I like the fact though that they didn't go very high with this guard. So it keeps me locked into place down here and locked in place here if I'm doing, stabbing tasks, regardless if it's in a reverse grip or in a natural hammer grip. And it's easy for me to scoot up, and it actually kind of cups my thumb if I had to get over and use the back of the spine to do finer cutting tasks. So that is something to note. Feels very good. It's nice and slim with a little bit of a palm swell. That great rubberized texturing is very comfortable and is held up well to all the abuse that we have put it through. So you can see there, it just feels very comfortable in my hand, and even on the back end here has a little bit of a flare out and a glass breaker. So if I'm using this in a pinky setting and doing light chopping, it actually kind of stays in my hand and I can get some light chopping done. And then again, with that glass breaker, kind of helps with that utilitarian aspect. And because it's so straight off the back, you can do all sorts of different bushcraft style grips if you want to, and it feels very ergonomic and very comfortable in your hand. So this has a great ergonomic feel with this Strongarm. All right, so now let's go ahead and look here at the Schrade. Now the Schrade has a Gryvery style handle scales. It is again full tang, but it has that exposed tang. So if you will, it's more idiot proof, and it will be able to take harder, particularly hitting tasks with other items in sense of like batoning. If you miss and maybe we're super stupid, this may have a tendency to break or something. I don't know. On the Gerber, I think it's strong enough with all the abuse that we've had that it would hold up, but you don't even have to think about that with this Schrade. You got handle scales. The worst thing that's going to happen is it's going to loosen up and then you just tighten them back down. The thing to note is that it is also very slim in that sense. It's a little bit fatter, so it will fill out your hand a little bit more, and it is slightly longer. When I line up the guards here, you can see it's just slightly longer by maybe, I don't know, not even quite a quarter of an inch longer off the back end. You can see there with my large size hands, again, feels nice and good in the hand, but it is slick. And that's really my beef. I feel the same way about all the K-bars coming out, of the Becker line. I upgrade to my Carta right away with those, and I would do the same with this Schrade. There are options to do that out there. Just because it's so slick, I don't really enjoy that. You could do tape or other things like that, but that's really up to you. But it's very slim, so it's going to be able to, and straight off the back. By when I say slim, I'm sorry, I mean just a straight natural feeling. So you are going to be able to do reverse grips, lots of different bushcraft grips, and it's going to feel very good in your hand. You got that jimping up on top. It's a little sharp. I would have preferred just to see no jimping right there. So with bare hands, it is a little uncomfortable right there. Maybe you might want to file that off, and then you do have that guard down there that kind of keeps you locked into place, but it's not going to be able to handle the stabbing tasks and keep you in the lockup that not only the rubberized feel, but also the top and bottom guard would give you with the Gerber. So when it comes to, you know, again, more bushcraft style tasks, maybe that handle seems to be a little bit more designed for that, and more utilitarian or tactical applications for the Gerber. So depending on what you prefer, this I would say for the Schrade, you would want to upgrade if you do consider the Schrade one of your go-to knives to a micarta or G10 handle. With the Gerber, I don't think there's any need to upgrade. It feels fantastic and very ergonomic in the hand. All right, folks, let's go ahead and take a look here at the carry options. We're gonna start out with the Schrade. The Schrade has a leather sheath with good stitching. I haven't seen any sort of wear and tear issues, you know, for a leather sheath. It's definitely an upgrade over, say, like nylon that you usually see from Schrade. You know, you're gonna get a good button system right here with a good snap. It's gonna hold it into place around the guard. You gotta be a little careful when you pull out the blade that you don't nick that leather, but it will hold it into place. You know, there's no rattle. It's a quiet, silent sheath. So definitely better than your average, you know, nylon that's out there. Good belt loop for larger belts. No drainage hole to speak of, but you know, for a leather sheath, it gets the job done, particularly at the price point. But when we're talking about in comparison to the Strongarm, there is no comparison. The Strongarm, in my opinion, has a much better sheath, and after 7 months of hard use, you know, having gone through not only my testing, but then handing it off to 7 other reviewers and having them test it, this thing is still holding great retention. We got a molded plastic sheath in here with plenty of lashing points for not only paracord, blade tech locks, molly locks, I mean, you name it. You can do anything you want with lashing it. You're gonna get 2 drainage holes down the center. On the back end here, you're not only going to get a horizontal belt positioning, so you can carry it scout style or weave it through different types of molly straps or, you know, PALS webbing. If you don't want to use that, it's got these other feeders in here. You could just attach it to molly compatible gear. And then finally, you have this nylon attachment here that you can take on and off and lash all sorts of different ways. You got your button snap up top near the handle that really holds it securely into place. And then it's ambidextrous. You can take the blade out, rotate it, and click it in the other way. So this is left or right. You can't do that with this Schrade. And it's very nice and secure in there. Still got a really good click to it. So when we're talking about carry options and the sheath, I mean, I still have no plans to upgrade this sheath anytime soon. It just has so many carry options. It's just a great design sheath. Great design sheath on the Gerber. And honestly, you know, for me, I would definitely want to be upgrading this sheath on the Schrade. It gets the job done, but just barely, and isn't any competition compared to the Gerber. Well, folks, it's time for us to wrap up this battle of the blades between the Gerber and the Schrade and give you my final thoughts. Now, ultimately, I hope by now you've kind of been able to decide which category you fit in and which knife's going to fit your needs. But to kind of wrap it up for you, if you're a bushcrafter, I think the Schrade is going to be the better knife for you. With the full flat grind and the 1095, that makes it easier to get the really shaving sharp edge quicker on. I think you're gonna like this more for those finer tasks, those more detailed tasks, triggers, traps, and tons of feather sticks. I think that you're gonna enjoy using this knife a little bit more because it excels at those types of tasks. But if you're more like me and you're looking more as a utilitarian, jack of all trades blade, then the Gerber I think is going to be the better choice for that. The saber grind, the ergonomic handle, you know, and the really great sheath options are huge selling points for me in the way that I use my knives. I like lots of carry options. I'm mounting them all the time to different belts and packs and chest rigs and gear, and that's a big plus for me. And ergonomics is a huge deal to me, and this has just fantastic ergonomics. Whereas the Schrade, though you can upgrade, and it's great because there are lots of companies out there that will do G10 or micarta, and you can get Kydex sheaths, but then we're looking at like $120 for this knife. And really, I don't have to do that when I purchase this Gerber. Yes, it may not excel quite as well in the bushcraft tasks, so if you're a bushcrafter, this is not the knife for you. But if you're in law enforcement, military, you're a hiker, a backpacker, a camper, and you're more of a person who likes to take your tents and your stoves and those type of things with you, and you just want a good solid knife that you can carry in lots of different ways, that's going to feel really good in your hand and do some basic woods tasks, open, you know, packaging, cut nylon rope and paracord for maybe like hanging your food up in a tree, you know, obviously all the tactical applications that we've talked about a little bit, and just, you know, maybe putting it into that deployment, you know, and making some feather sticks for a fire real quick, and then enjoying going into your tent, not having to, you know, make triggers and traps and do all those type of things. You know, I'm a utilitarian. I wouldn't really consider myself to be a bushcrafter. That's who I am. So hopefully that discussion and this whole walkthrough and answering those questions for you guys to the best of my ability is pointing you in the right direction. These are both, though, for $45. Fantastic knives. I mean, it's really impressive what's coming out on the market, and really proves that you don't have to go out and spend $200 on a blade. Yes, it's fun to do that, and if you have the money, there's great $200 knives out there, but for 45 bucks, you can get some great blades. Depending on how you want to use and deploy your knife will determine which one of these two would be the best for you. So as always, guys, thank you so much for checking out particularly this Battle of the Blades episode between the Schrade and the Gerber. Hope it's helped you out with your purchasing decisions. Check us out on all the relevant social media. Links are in the description below. Please subscribe, comment, like, share this video. Love to hear your guys' thoughts on this Battle of the Blades. And as always, remember, stay equipped, stay prepared. We'll see you out there.